So I just wanted to go over some of the reopening information and procedures to help make sure that everyone is on the same page. So if anyone needs, here's our contact information. Feel free to reach out. Our Twitter, our school website, our Facebook is not on there, but our school phone number as well. So as you know, currently it's been going day to day, but there's ongoing discussion between CPS, the high school task force, and the Chicago Teachers Union. And although there's no official agreement at this time, hopefully there's one soon. It sounds like discussions have been productive. So I recommend that everybody watches their emails you've been doing, Facebook, media outlets for the latest information. And as soon as we receive an update that's accurate and reliable, we'll make sure to make it available to everyone. So, you know, at this moment, April 19th is going to be the first day of the fourth quarter. And it's the target date for students to return to the classrooms. A return to high school classrooms should be made available to all students, and that's part of the criteria that CPS and CTU agreed upon. And they should be with their assigned teachers. Instructional models varied between schools due to the enrollment and capacity for social distancing. So there was various models that schools qualified for and could choose. The model that Steinmetz will use may be different than a model a smaller school or larger school may use for return to in-person or hybrid learning. So if you have children at multiple high schools, it is possible that their scheduling models will look different. And we will discuss our models in a few slides. So what I would like to do is talk a little bit about our hybrid schedule. So basically, at Steinmetz, we're using a hybrid and remote model. So a few weeks ago, CPS sent out a survey to parents asking whether or not their child would opt in or opt out of in-person learning. And for students who opted in, they will be following the hybrid model. For students who opted out, they will be following the remote model. So the deadline to choose was the 23rd of March. I believe we were in about the 75-80% contact rate of being able to reach out to parents and families to find out what models they selected. So in the hybrid model for students who opted in to in-person learning, students will attend school in person 2 days a week and remotely online for 3 days a week. For students who opted out, they will remain at home 5 days per week and continue in online learning. So families who chose remote will remain remote until the end of the school year, and families who chose hybrid will remain in hybrid, or they can switch to remote at any time. But if a family who chose hybrid switches to remote, they may not switch back to hybrid for the remainder of the school year. So families who did not respond to the survey, those students were automatically placed in remote. So let's take a little closer look at what a daily schedule looks like. So for students who are remote or students who opted out and chose remote learning, their schedule will remain the same as to what students are currently used to. Students will engage in learning online Monday through Friday, as you can see on the screen. So pretty much nothing changes as to what the students are used to. For the hybrid opt-in schedule, for students who chose to opt in, or families who chose to opt in and chose the hybrid learning model, students will attend in-person school 2 days a week and remote for 3 days a week. Students will be assigned to either shift A or shift B. Shift A will attend in person on Monday and Tuesday, and shift B will attend in person on Thursday and Friday. So I have a visual to help this make a little more sense. Here's an example of what a weekly schedule will look like for hybrid learning for shift A and B. So if you note that all in-person classes at Steinmetz will have no more than 15 students in the classroom, with the exception of lunch. So if you look at shift A, those students, if they're assigned shift A, will come in on Monday and Tuesday, and shift B on Thursday and Friday. Student schedules were sent out on 4/7. They were available 4/7 via student email accounts, and schedules are available in Aspen if parents or students would like to visit the schedule and see what it looks like. The bell schedule for all learning will continue to follow our regular bell schedule for both remote and hybrid learners. Students in hybrid learning will join their classmates in remote learning each class period via Google Meets that the teacher may project on the screen. A big question that comes up all the time is basically, what are the safety protocols? What are the measures that we've taken as a school to make sure students are safe? So when we look at our safety protocols and PPE, everyone in the building must wear a mask. I mean, this is a mandate that everybody is pretty much used to at this point. But face shields are allowed, but you still must wear a mask under the face shield. 6 feet social distancing is expected everywhere. Hand sanitizer stations have been installed in every classroom, common areas, bathrooms, hallways, and entries. And all classrooms are equipped with a HEPA air purifier. Restrooms and water fountains, all restrooms will be available, but due to social distancing, not all sinks or stalls will be usable. So sinks that are not usable will have green shrink wrap draped over them. Stalls and hand washing sinks will also have green shrink wrap or marked with a sticker stating it's not usable. Water fountains are only allowed to refill water bottles. Drinking from the fountain, like people usually do, will not be allowed. So students have the option to bring their own water bottle so they can refill them. Some of our water fountains have been retrofitted with a water filling spout on some of the older water fountains. If any student becomes sick during the school day, we have what's called a care room, where he or she will wait for a parent or guardian to pick them up. So it's basically a room that will be staffed with school personnel who will be with your child, take their temperature, put in the report, call you, let you know, your child is not feeling well, they should be picked up, and so on and so forth. So they will be with somebody who's familiar and knows them and will help them to make sure that they're taken care of until they can be picked up. The health screener must be completed each day before coming to Steinmetz, whether it's for staff members or visitors or our students. There's a health screener online and everyone has to fill that out. It has to be completed on the day the students will enter the school building, and the screener opens at 5 a.m. Failing the health screener will deny entry. So a person can't do it the night before for the next day. You have to wait until the actual day that you're going to go in the building, and it opens up at 5 a.m. So what does entering the building look like? So as I mentioned, the health screener, before coming to school, each student will need, or each visitor, anyone needs to complete the CPS health screener. If you pass the screener, you're able to come to the school. If you fail the screener, you must stay at home and call the absence into the attendance office at 773-534-3027. So just to reiterate, the health screener must be done the day of and opens at 5 a.m. each day. It's important that students do the health screener before coming to the school, one, to make the process more efficient, but if the student fails the health screener, that way they know and they don't make the trip all the way to the school. All students and visitors are required to wear a mask on CPS property. When walking into the building at the main entrance, students must be wearing their mask properly, which requires masks to be worn so they fully cover the mouth and nose as seen in the picture with the green check mark. Thank you, Mr. DeJesus, for serving as our model and showing everyone what proper mask wearing looks like.
I love it.
Thank you. In addition, students and visitors will be required to sanitize their hands upon entering, and hand sanitizer stations are just past the security screener. So as part of a security check, the students, visitors' temperatures will be taken. Any temperature above 100.4 degrees will result in the student or visitor being sent to the student being sent to the care room, where the parent be notified immediately to pick them up. At this point, we will verify that you completed and passed your health screener, and then you can go through the regular security check as everyone is used to. As you can see here, once you go through a security check, you will then go to the next area, which as soon as you pass security check, there are hand sanitizers at every entrance, at every line, for students to use. So there's hand sanitizers in every classroom, bathroom, entrance, in the lunchroom. Every time you move from space to space, you can use the hand sanitizer. We make sure that people are going around checking these to make sure they're filled and they're working. And so we want to make sure that sanitizer is available for everyone. I cannot stress how many emails I've received asking about the uniform and dress code. So one question comes up and up over and over again, as I said, is whether or not students will be required to wear the Steinmetz school uniform shirt. During hybrid learning, Steinmetz will follow the standard CPS dress code, and students will not be required to wear or purchase the Steinmetz uniform at this time. But as soon as we return to a regular school year, the uniform policy will go back into effect. Navigating the building. So now we're going to talk a little bit about what it looks like to go around the building from room to room or space to space. So during hybrid learning, lockers will not be used. Students will need to bring their materials with them from class to class. For PE classes, locker rooms will not be used for PE classes. So it's very important that students bring the supplies they need, and that they're ready to be able to go from class to class with their supplies. Seating in the classrooms. Although classrooms may be set up and look like a full regular classroom, only certain desks will be usable. So desks the students can sit at will be marked to maintain 6-foot distancing. These green marks on the screen are not the marks that we're putting on the desk, but this is just to give you an idea of how desks could be set up to be spaced properly in the classroom. Some suggestions have been take out all the desks and put them in the hallways and just leave the ones that we can social distance, so on and so forth, are needed. But that will create another issue in which students who are walking down the halls will now be forced to one side of the hall or the other, minimizing their spacing as they're transitioning. So the best option at this point is to keep the desks in the room, set up the room in a classic setup, and then just mark the desks where students can sit. Technologies. Students must bring their Chromebook or laptop with them to school every day. Please make sure the devices are charged each day. We'll not be able to provide charging stations during the school day to everyone. And we don't have the ability to provide backup technology for students for safety and logistical reasons. This question has come up a lot about what if a student doesn't have a Chromebook? What if they don't have the device they need? Well, fortunately, earlier in the year and last year, we advocated to get as many laptops as possible for our students to meet the need of everyone that requested one so they can receive one. Some families wanted to make sure that they were considerate, and they did not elect to obtain a school issue Chromebook, and they had their own device, and they said, you know what, thank you, but no thank you, we'll use our own device. And some of those students may be returning now. So fortunately, based off of the numbers and the selections that were made of who's returning in person, based off of that data, CPS is going to provide us with Chromebooks for students who may need them, who are in person. So that's why it's important. We sometimes we get the people inquiring, students inquiring, or parents, whether or not they can switch their child from group A to B, or back and forth, or opt in or opt out. And we had to set a hard deadline, and CPS actually extended that. Part of that was in order to accommodate the planning. There had to be equipment purchased. There had to be room set up. There had to be technology acquired. So all of that is based off of those numbers. So we should have enough devices for those students who will be in person, for them to be able to have a device. So because part of that is CPS does not allow individual students to bring their personal technology and use it on the CPS network. So that's why it's important that those students who we already know who have been assigned a laptop or Chromebook, we can now assign them one during remote learning, and that will happen during their first week. Lunch is another area of concern for everyone, rightfully so. Our goal is to make sure students are safe and their schedules are minimally impacted. That was the goal of CPS, is to make sure that students pretty much have their same schedule with little to no disruption. Students will eat lunch during their assigned lunch period as assigned on their current schedules. We are going to put 50 students max at scheduled per lunch period in the lunchroom. All of our periods, because we have the A and B schedule, we have two different groups of students coming in at a time, Monday and Tuesday or Thursday and Friday. That allowed us to basically comfortably put the maximum amount of students, 50 or less, in the lunchroom. The freshman lunch period is about 55 students, and we've made an alternative space on another room adjacent to the lunchroom in order to place the 5 extra students just in case there's a need, and we don't want to go over the 50. So we have a space for them, for everyone to be comfortable and still have a full lunch experience. Lunches will be socially distanced to ensure safety. Tables will be clearly marked with a label indicating where students may sit. There's a few different options on how we could do that. We could put in a configuration of 3 per table or 2, depending on the size of the table. Hand sanitizers provided from dispensers for students will be required to sanitize their hands when they come in and eat lunch. And students must remain seated during their lunch period and keep masks on when they're not eating or drinking. So just like a restaurant, if you're not eating or drinking, you should have your mask on. But while you're eating and drinking, you can definitely remove your mask. And dismissal, at the end of the day, all students must leave the building. Unfortunately, hanging out with friends is not allowed in the school building or on school property at this moment. I understand, school is a hub where everybody wants to hang out and be with their friends, but we have to really make sure the students are social distancing and not putting each other at risk. And the protocols for athletics will be communicated through the coaches. Ms. Russo and I and the admin team, we've been working very closely with the coaches, and our coaches have been great, really enforcing the protocols, making sure students are, even though they may see other examples where, when they go to other places where the rules are not followed as strictly, our students have been really good at adapting to the rules, and it really hasn't been an issue. It's not an issue of resistance or why do I have to do this or why I have to do that. Students are just happy to be back and able to play, and they've very graciously have been following the rules. Of course, there's always a little few reminders, but they've been really good at following that. So I will stop here for this part of the presentation. I just want to answer any questions that the council may have regarding reopening before I go to the next part of principal's report.
I have a question.
Sure.
In between, during the transition period, are those classrooms going to be wiped, the desk going to be wiped down for the next group of kids to come in? And it's same thing with the lunch tables?
The lunch tables will be wiped. They're always wiped between lunch periods, but not between class periods. We will have a bucket of wipes available in every classroom and hand sanitizer. Every student, as they enter the room, should sanitize their hands. Every visitor into the room should sanitize their hands, but they will not be wiped.
I would be willing to bet that most teachers, if there is a bucket of wipes, will wipe down their desks. I think just for their own sake and I would be willing to bet that most teachers will do that without even being told to.
Or maybe even having the students wipe them down right before they leave. It's just that I know you're mentioning the hand sanitizer, and it just seems like it's a lot, right? And I know it's safety for safety reasons, but there's children out there that have, because of the alcohol content in the hand sanitizers, that will dry out their hands and cause the children to break out in rashes. I know this because my youngest child has this. So she washes her hands and tries to use a less alcohol-based sanitizer. So I know that you're requiring every single classroom, but if it would be helpful to wipe down the desk right before dismissal would probably be a good option also.
It's something we could advise teachers to do. Like Ms. Russo said, I think most people will probably take the proper measures that they feel most comfortable with in trying to do that. But we will try to reduce the spread of germs as much as possible. Reality is, if everyone is wearing their mask and sanitizing, and I agree, because I also have that problem with my hand. I've been having cracks and breakouts on my hands from all the sanitizer, and sometimes the one with aloe helps if I could find it. But I definitely agree with you, and we'll definitely recommend it to the teachers.
I think that most teachers would be willing to do that. They'll stand at the door then with the tub and say, take a wipe down your desk, as you come in. We do that at volleyball practice. At the end of practice, every girl takes a wipe. They wipe down every ball. Between games, every girl takes wipes and wipes down all of the chairs so that we sanitize between the varsity and sophomore games. At my softball practice today, every girl gets a wipe. We wipe down the helmets, the bats, before we put everything away. So if the wipes are there, we can train the kids to do that. That's easy.
And I'm very appreciative of the amount of buckets of wipes that we've been provided by CPS. I have to be honest that sometimes I think it's a little overkill, but I know athletics received a shipment the other day. They probably needed only maybe a box or two, but they received, I think it was 8 boxes of wipes. But we do go through them, so
we do.
CPS has been pretty good about providing those wipes, so we definitely will make them available as they're being used, and we will let the teachers know. And I think they will probably take it upon themselves to want to do that or work with students to do that. So thank you for the suggestion.
I just want to thank you for the presentation. I think I love the pictures, right, that really show our students how to wear the mask and what's going to be the process. Are you going to maybe print some of those pictures to put throughout the school, right, so they know what's the proper mask wearing, right? Because I think we all start wearing our mask, and little by little it goes down, right? And I think just to have some of those pictures, and I think they're great pictures, Mr. De Jesus, will be helpful as well for our students.
Yeah, I think it's a great suggestion. I appreciate it. I know Mr. De Jesus is always willing to help out wherever he can. I want to say too, and just thank Mr. Svalnes, Mr. De Jesus, Ms. Williams, and the other ESPs, Rolando, Angel, and others who have really, they're the ones that put this together. They're the ones that went around the school taking pictures, really thinking about what does a day in a life look like, and what would kids need to know in order to make them comfortable, and so that they know what it's going to look like, so it won't be as scary, and so that the procedures are clear. So it took a lot of people to collaborate to make these presentations. They make it easy for me to just come up here and just go through it, but they really are the rock stars who have helped put all this together.
Easy work compared to everything else.
I bet. Mr. Aramillo, another question. So let's say we start school Monday, right? The kids, there's a classroom that maybe something happens, right? Someone's positive. Has CPS talked about what's going to be the process for that group that's together, or what does that look like?
That's a great question. The process has been changing as we go along. So I'll just give you a brief description of the general process. Just even as far as up to today, right, as we joined the meeting, I seen there we had some emails that came in with updated processes. So we'll have to look at that, and I'm sure it'll continue to change. But basically what we have is a care room. So if a student is showing symptoms or is complaining of symptoms, the teacher can let them know, or the student could say, hey, I'm not feeling well, and they will be taken to the care room Somebody in the care room will be wearing PPE. They will take their temperature, screen, do kind of like the health screener, do those questions and call the parent. After that, it's really up to it's really up to all of us as individuals to make sure that we're being honest with the health screener. If a student has the symptoms and they answer the health screener accordingly, then they will have to stay home and quarantine for a little while. But they also will, if they go get tested and they test positive, which is what I think you're asking about, if they test positive, they have to self-report to Chicago Public Schools, let them know. And at that point, CPS will send out some communications regarding who had direct contact, which individuals should quarantine. And it's based off of, who has had shots already, who has not, and what exposure, whether it's a team or what environment the student what exposed others. So it all really depends on a particular situation, but there's a lot of different steps and considerations. But the student themselves will have to quarantine, and those students who were in direct contact, if CPS deems it is, and the contact tracers, I should say, deem it is part of the individuals they have to notify, they will notify those individuals separately. There will no longer be those, as there was in the beginning of this situation where they sent out whole building emails to the whole community. These are specific emails to individuals saying, you've been exposed, you will need to quarantine for so many days, and so on and so forth.
And I know it changes all the time. So thank you for, keeping us up to date. Is this presentation that you showed us today, would it be available in our Facebook and our website, so parents that may, didn't join tonight's meeting or won't see the meeting could see this presentation, because it'll be helpful for the school community to have it?
Yeah, we're gonna upload the slides. We actually did have a parent town hall last week on Thursday, I believe it was, with this same presentation, and everyone was invited, but mostly parents and students who elected hybrid are the ones that attended. But we will make the slides available on our website.
Thank you.